What's up everyone, Tera Roberts here with FantasyPros bringing you my top 10 waiver wire ads of the week for week 5. It was a little hard to narrow it down this week because there's some great value on waivers, but let's jump right in and go ahead and get started. Number 10, Latavius Murray. Talk about a wild ride at the running back position for Baltimore through the first 4 weeks of the season, but it finally looks like we may have some clarity. Tyson Williams was a healthy scratch, and Latavius Murray took the lead back role to the tune of 18 carries for 59 yards and 1 touchdown, with Le'Veon Bell being the next closest back with 4 carries for 11 yards. Now, the kicker is he hasn't actually caught a single pass this season, making his value wildly vary depending on which format you play, but he's still someone who should be rostered in all leagues. Number 9, Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's breakout game finally arrived, with Mooney catching 5 of 7 targets for 125 yards. We do need to keep expectations in check because it was against a poor Detroit defense and Justin Fields only threw the ball for 17 times. But we know Mooney's talent, and it's very encouraging to see such a solid connection with Justin Fields. Number 8, AJ Green. We've danced around it, and we've tried to pick up everyone on the Cardinals roster outside of AJ Green, but it's time to look at him as someone that we need to roster. He's healthy. He's been on the field upwards of 80% of snaps. His target share has been consistent, 6 in every game this season. He's got touchdown upside, and he's not the number 1 guy. So as the Cardinals head into the rough portion of their schedule, top corners will likely be covering Hopkins and continue to leave Green with opportunities. Number 7, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is proving that his 2020 usage was no fluke and continues to outsnap Blake Jarwin and is performing as a top 5 tight end. Crazy. But aside from 1 poor game against the Chargers, Schultz has had 6 receptions each week and 3 touchdowns on the year. He backed up an excellent week 3 performance with a great week 4, and at this point we have to consider him the top tight end in Dallas. Some of his usage may be adjusted when Michael Gallup returns, but Schultz is someone who we should be rostering at tight end. Number 6, Dawson Knox. Knox was someone who I included on my waiver list last week, so if you grabbed him, great job. If not, there's still a chance that he's on waivers in your league. Knox has been incredibly consistent and added to that consistency this week with 5 receptions on 8 targets, and instead of his usual 1 touchdown, he gave us a little bonus and had 2 touchdowns for a fantastic outing. It's time to pivot away from those underperforming tight ends and add Dawson Knox. Number 5, DeVante Parker. DeVante Parker is an interesting case because while the targets have been there, the production just has been underwhelming. Jalen Waddle was seeing a strong amount of targets, Mike Gesicki has been coming on strong as well, and the looming return of Will Fuller just kind of left Parker out in the cold. But Parker had a productive outing this week, going 4 of 9 for 77 yards and a touchdown. Fuller is struggling to stay on the field and continues to have injury issues, leaving Parker in a prime position to continue capitalizing, especially against several upcoming defenses who have struggled against the pass. Number 4, Kenneth Gainwell. Gainwell has been on my waivers list a couple of times already this season, and this week he showcased exactly why, with 3 carries for 31 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, and 6 receptions on 8 targets for 58 yards. Miles Sanders is still seeing the majority of carries, but it's Gainwell's work through the air that makes him a waiver priority. In an offense where, outside of Devonta Smith, receivers are struggling to find consistency in targets, Gainwell can carve out a crucial role and stay fantasy relevant. Number 3, Trey Lance. Jimmy Garoppolo left the game this week with a calf injury, and Trey Lance stepped in halfway through the game, going 9 of 18 for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, plus 7 carries for 41 yards on the ground. Now, the completion percentage wasn't fantastic. I mean, he is a rookie, but his ability to find the end zone, volume, and his rushing upside all make up for inconsistencies. We don't know how long Garoppolo will be out and what happens if Trey Lance plays lights out, but Lance is worth a roster. If this works out in Lance's favor, the back half of the 49ers schedule sets up so beautifully, he's worth the investment. Number 2, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has escaped the clutches of Adam Gase, stepped into the light with Carolina, and is no longer seeing ghosts and has vaulted his way into being a top 10 quarterback. It's been hard for many fantasy managers to shake the feeling of the old Sam Darnold and accept this new and improved Sam Darnold, but he's worth a roster. Even in a game where he had some interception issues, he threw for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, plus another 2 touchdowns on the ground for the second week in a row. This is a quarterback who we can feel comfortable putting in our lineups and confident calling him a QB1. Number 1, Damien Williams. Our number 1 waiver ad of the week is actually the least rostered of the entire group, but when you're stepping into being the potential lead back of an offense that loves to run the ball, you are the top priority. We're still waiting on the details of the extent of the injury, but David Montgomery suffered a knee injury sadly after an incredible game on the ground with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and now Damien Williams steps right into that role. Even on a 33% snap count this week, Williams saw 8 carries for 55 yards, averaging nearly 7 yards per carry with a touchdown as well. It's a huge upside situation for Williams and a fantastic ad if you can grab him off waivers. And that wraps up my top 10 waiver wire ads for week 5. Be sure to like and subscribe to Fantasy Pros across all platforms, and be sure to come back next week for my next round of waiver wire ads.